First impressions count for a lot here in PSS. It's only 6 games after all, and there's only going to be one more left on Miramar. So Instaflush coming back from taking a break from PSS last month and really making that first impression count so far. A delightful chicken dinner from them. And we knew they were going to do it. We just didn't quite know when.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of a slow start, but they've come back in game two, revitalized and ready to absolutely rock this lobby. And I want to see if they can continue this pace up, the high frags, the zone control, and getting that big result. And, it's insta-flush. I think they can. They're so strong.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what that has done to the leaderboards, because that is a big win for Instaflush, and indeed it propels them up to first place. They have one more kill than Entropy. Entropy, no chicken dinners, but they've always been there or thereabouts towards the latter stages of the game. It's only 2 games in, but we can see that their consistency may shine through. Entropy are very much threatening. As soon as anybody else makes a mistake, they could come in and get a high kill chicken dinner of their own, Crun.
Absolutely. They've been phenomenally strong. The team fights are looking solid. And, 22 points, 15 kills, second after 2 games. I don't see them slowing down either. And I think it's just going to be a big challenge for anyone to come on and take any points away from them in these 1v4, in these 4v4s, because they just look so solid. The comms just seem so on point. They've always got every angle covered. And unfortunately, they've been locked out by taking too many fights at once, which isn't their choice. It's a third party for a reason. So very good work from them. Just going to touch on another couple of the teams. We see Kona down in 8th. They haven't got a single placement point, but they're sitting in 8th with frags alone. Phenomenal from them. I would like to see them play a little bit smarter, not get caught up in these 1vx's and try and play till late game, because who knows how many frags they could pick up with the mechanical ability and the reactions that they've got. If they get to late game, they could absolutely wipe this server. Team Arctic White still picking up a few kills in the last game, holding their position in 4th towards the top half of the table, just above the life-saving killers. They actually took that place back off of them, but it's short-lived because they've dropped down to 4th and 5th.
We're going to slightly gloss over the fact that Cross and I's picks for dark horses here might have been C-Play and Fence, who are currently in 15th and 16th. But that's okay. There's plenty of time for them to come round. The Colonizer and the Milkmen just above them as well. Club 137 has been there or thereabouts in the mid-game, but they haven't really been able to rotate into a competitive position in the late game so far. And that's really what we need to see from them in this game number 3. The valuable veterans just haven't been able to rotate anywhere by the looks of things. They seem to be doing okay. They seem to be dropping. They've even taken 1 or 2 decent fights. They just haven't been able to translate that into a really good late game circle. Turtle Esports and Forsaken almost suffering from the opposite problem. They've been getting in quite early. They've gotten good positions, but then before the circles close and the rest of the teams disappear from the lobby, they've been taking a lot of these fights or have been put in really awkward positions where sadly they have gone out early as well. So we'll be looking for potentially big things coming out from them in game number 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the playing path is going to be like as we move into game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on Miramar for the final time today. A little bit of a western skew here, an 8 to a 1 o'clock path. And this time around, well, your El Pozo teams will be completely fine. In fact, most people will be fine. Los Leones won't be nearly as contested, but I get the impression that the teams will be comfortable with how this is playing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously we're already seeing Kona readjust from that Los Leones drop, and they're going to go slightly north, potentially towards Cratefields and La Cabrera. 4am doing a similar. Forsaken going to El Pozo. We're going to see Instaflush potentially long shoot to El Hazar, which I know is their preferred drop spot. And Crucible potentially again going to be an early contest and fight from Turtle Esports and Fence. But we are seeing Bacado, C-Play, they dropped there last time. They adjusted, knowing that no one dropped there the first time, but we are seeing Club 137 contest them on this Bacado drop.
This is going to be quite fun. The first circle is in between Monte Nuevo and Picado as well. So these guys are comfortably in circle 1. They've got plenty of time to try and fight this out. Boxing ring, Club 137. And then just south of them, we have C play. Doesn't look like anyone is hot dropped into the same building or similar, but they are all close enough that the moment they get looted up, I guarantee we're going to see some Winnie headshots coming out here if people aren't completely looted. Oh, come on, take the M249. Bested, what are you doing? Grab it! Grab it!
M249 Winnie is the meta combo confirmed by Jorosaur for
Clearly.
Miramar. I hit a dirty one from one of the apartments over to the 5-stack the other day with a guy with a with a K9 and just took his head off with the Winchester, and there is nothing sweeter, let me tell you. It's so satisfying. But we're seeing C play and Club Weed 137 just share Picardo. It's all a little bit quiet at the moment. I think after C plays, quite slow start, to be honest. They've not been able to get past the first couple of the first fight really in these last two games. I think we're going to see the fighting again. Entropy and West, or Wii Sports even.
Oh no, wait, a second fight here. Chumacera this time around. Entropy, I think Wii Sports, they have to know Entropy's here. 100 damage has also been done, so one member of Wii Sports is dead. Yep. The rest of them, they have to back off at this point. If they had the elements of surprise and they might be able to get one or two players back, very similar to what we saw in the Northeastern Edge, for example, in game number 2, where 2 players just charged in, not knowing at all that someone else was there. Yes, okay, I totally get the justification for staying here, but that's not the case right now. Entropy knows that there are multiple members of this team in Chumacera, and they've got their eyes on them. You can see where Hawara is, taking a look to see if he can spot anyone running between buildings so we can radio that information back to their team. Entropy are not going to get caught by surprise here. And because of that, I think the correct thing to do is for Wii Sports to just quietly slip out the eastern side, maybe see if they can go a little further north, get a good compound for late game, and play from there.
Yeah, so I think we missed that they dropped with each other. Obviously, it does seem that Chumacera is the preferred drop spot of Entropy and Wii Sports. I think the logo on the plane is just covers it up a little bit from Wii Sports and makes it a little bit hard to see that Entropy was there. But they are going to go for this second engagement. We saw this in the first game. But they don't really have to worry about the time constraint like they did in the first game. They can take their time and they can take this fight. But again, what I would say is what you just suggested, Joro, is Wii Sports dip out, go and get themselves maybe one of the rainbow compounds, maybe something near the gas station, and just kind of sit, preserve vehicles, and see if they can get a nice central spot in this circle without losing any more members, because they have already lost one. And going into a lobby this strong, you don't want to be free up against the monsters that are Entropy, Insta Flush, and everyone else that's in this lobby so far.
Wii Sports should be able to disengage relatively okay. Picardo's just not going to get resolved anytime soon. I don't think anyone's actually pushing across the buildings or anything like that. Everyone's staying put, waiting for someone else to make a move. But there's no point when you have a situation where you're in circle, no one's being forced to move, and you feel like your position's okay. So not too much taking of the initiative here. I wonder if Wii Sports is going to do similar. They have heard some cars start up from Entropy. It's really difficult to mask the sound of a Murado on Miramar after all. But it's not enough for them to push in. They know someone's on top of that rock. They know that Entropy are watching. This is the part where Wii Sports have to make a decision for what their priorities are. And I think if they can't get a knock in 20 to 30 seconds, they will reevaluate their position and probably rotate. But if they get a knock, this could be their time to try and grab a couple of points and move in.
Kev taking a lot of damage there, as it looks like Entropy are pushing as a 3-man, and is that information from the player just up on the rock, just up on that elevated position, gonna say, okay, Kev is isolated, 3 of you need to push him, I'm gonna lay down some pressure so he can't get the support that he needs. He is now locked into this building, and it looks like Entropy are gonna absolutely collapse onto him. He is trying to get through a few smokes just to try and drop back to Reese, who is just sitting a little bit south of him in another building, who is trying to give him some support and cover, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to move from this very easily and save his life, to be honest with you.
I love what Entropy are doing right now. You're absolutely right. Carlo on the high ground is telling them, guys, we know that they're here and we know that they're pretty split. And the fact that Kev is smoking the inside of the building tells Entropy they clearly don't want us to go into that one building. They're buying time. They want the rest of the team to move up. That means that Entropy should now no longer be looking at Kev. They need to be looking further afield. They're going, cool, who from Wii Sports is trying to come in to support Kev? Let's try and cut them off. Let's try and get them knocked before they have a chance to get together. Very nice, very slow, methodical play from both sides, to be fair. Very clear for us to see what they're trying to do, and it'll be interesting to see how that conflict resolves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing another engagement here from the life-saving killers onto VV. It looks like Huawei is taking down Tunk now, who was the point that I was going to make is Tunk moved over to the other side on the apartments to try and give a little bit of cover and fire. And we saw one of the other move over. Great push. Fantastic push there. Oh, Reese. Gonna get a refrag, and he's gonna get some knock and the flush on, and they're gonna get some points, and it's just him left. And now he's got the player up the mountain, feeding this information and putting some shots down onto him. And now he's gonna have the other two. Yes, they're resin, but are they're gonna, as soon as he gets up, gonna be able to backstab and come and push him, which they did so well.
All Reyes has to do is take the first fight first. We got this sorted, guys. Don't even.
I'm not going down this road.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Here we go. AK.
What a name, Jones!
You need to give him the first fight first, guys. You got to let him get into the first fight. That's not how this works. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Can I just say, by the way, MVP of that fight, Carlos, 100%. Without that information being fed through to the rest of the game, rest of the team, they would have been completely and utterly blind. So, well done to Carlos for feeding that information through to the rest of Entropy.
Absolutely, and we did see it was such a good, well-constructed. Oh, we're going to see a third party. Arctic have now taken the high ground, and do they know? Does Entropy know they're there? We are seeing Carlo just moving around, swinging around. Has he potentially spotted, or is he just trying to go to a vehicle? He's still looting. I don't think he knows. This could be huge. Let's go back just briefly before they start engaging each other. Entropy constructed that push so well. They had the intel guy up on the rock feeding all the information down. Carlo, like you said, MVP, feeding so much information. Whilst the others pushed as a unit. Now, we did see Tunk move over to the other side and try and support the other Wii Sports players from the apartments. Now, there was an adjustment from Huawei, who moved over. Oh, here we go. The first shot's coming out. He moved over and actually took out the player. He wrapped all the way around the back and took out the player that was in the apartments facing. So they lost their support and lost the call-outs from from Tunk, who was trying to do exactly what Carlo was doing. They lost that intel, and then the rest of Entropy moved over to and pushed and got those kills. Ooh, Carlo taking a big chunk of damage here as he does spot out Team Arctic. They did give themselves away by trying to take some shots on the player that was crossing the road. And you're right, Joe. They did not have any idea that they were there.
Arctic White versus Entropy now. Carlo trying to back away a bit because we need to be able to buy time for the rest of the team to get in position. Arctic White up all four up there. In the meantime, they need to actually move from this position very soon because phase 2, not quite hard shifted, but pretty close to hard shift towards the crossroads in Monte Nuevo. So neither of these teams really want to be here 2 minutes from now. They would rather be getting in their vehicles. They'd rather be focusing on where they're going to be in phase 4, for example, than have to deal with each other right now. And they have to wait for Arctic White, the team with the high ground, the team with more angles. They need to wait for them to leave until they can. Going down to 11 hit points is Fit Mickey there. Very close to going down. Turtle Esports is nearby. Turbo Badge is down for InstaFlush. I don't actually know where the rest of InstaFlush are. That delightful frag grenade from Jakob is going to take him out, though. And there is absolutely no way he's going to be able to get res from that. Where is the rest of InstaFlush? Well played from Turtle Esports. High ground on all sides, basically. Fit Mickey there. And yeah, there is no way that Gary and Scala will be able to come in and get that revive. Unfortunately, they can look around, they can maybe even potentially get a knock, but sadly this is not realistically someone you're going to be able to get back on their feet.
No, and that's a massive factor. Vandal being one of the strongest members on this team, absolute monster, and he's down, not resable, and that's just going to leave Doid and Gary by themselves. Now, that's nothing to squibble at because Doid, absolute monster. He's been growing so much as a player over the last few months. Gary, meme king himself, but he can frag when it comes down.
Turtle, what are you
That's a
doing?
little bit greedy. That's so greedy from Choke there. He goes for the flush. Right, fair enough. But to go and loot him whilst being shot at by minis, that's greedy, and that's going to cost him his life there. Insta flush now, evening up. Great initial shot coming out from Gary there as well. Does take a little bit of damage on the trade. Now, are they just going to sit and take this edge and play edge knowing that it's only 2 members? Or are they going to take this fight and just try and dig their heels in? I would move off if I was them.
Now that they're down to 2, I think they're more likely to stay edge, actually, because they want to move in. Like, it's one of those things where the heart says move in, but the head says stay edge, because if you happen to run into a full team and you're only a duo, what the hell are you going to do? So I would be more inclined as Instaflush to rotate around the edge of circle, not get in anyone's way, because they've lost that 3rd player. I would have changed my mind, for example, if they were still 3. But right now, they can't exactly send it center and expect to win a fight against a full team, can they? So I think they need to find a sector of the circle where they have a little bit of breathing space, and then just let everyone else do the fighting first.
For me, they've been gifted there, and they've taken the wrong route. They saw Turtle Esports moving south. They could have taken the north-hand side and got over just to the northwest of FaZe Hill and tried to play from there. That northwest side is completely free, as we see how many teams coming in from southeast. This is going to be crazy, and the kill feed, I feel, is about to absolutely light up Joro.
Crossroads still in phase 3 as teams scramble for position. There are quite a few decent priority compounds there. C137 getting locked out of this compound by rotate around Yaz. They're stuck in the field. They've got Hay Bay, very little bit to hard cover for company, but nothing to write home about at the moment. They're also taking a look at Kona, so multiple teams here. How? 155, if they didn't see him before, you certainly did now. Trying to fight another team, actually, and Zachary appears to just being a thorn in their side. Properly in the middle of Monte Nuevo, which puts them on the southern side of phase 3. There's a good chance they'd have to rotate north, in which case there's a collection of compounds on the north side of Monte that would be very favorable for the teams to be in. Because the team in the south, they're going to have to rotate through 3 or 4 teams in really close proximity if they move out of Monte now. So that is a very, very good reason for a couple of these teams to think about moving early. Don't wait for phase 4 or phase 5 to push you out of Monte Nuevo. Maybe earlier will be better.
The Milkman trying to rotate now and coming into a lot of heavy fire from Arctic. Looks like Morty might have lost his vehicle there. Oh no, he absolutely has lost it, and I think the best bet he's got now, unless he gets picked up by Milky in the Venga bus, is just to play it as cover. But they are going to opt and choose to take this fight from the edge of the circle, just using the dip and just using that little hut as cover. But Arctic are going to be so focused on them now, and this is going to be so hard for them to get anywhere.
The good news is that they've got time on their side. They have a vehicle, even though it's a bang bus. They have a shack. Arctic are not realistically going to be pushing out of the compound towards the edge of circle to eliminate them. So the Milkmen have got a couple of things to their advantage, but they are still going to be the ones who have to take the initiative next. What are they going to be doing, for example, when they go to phase number 4? They're also very split because Fox just got taken out by Baker and bested there. So that means, well, what on earth have the Milkmen been doing, actually? That's going to be interesting. A little bit frustrating that the rest of the squad is in trouble. I think that might therefore mean that they're the only players left, and it is properly a duo now. But they're going to move in the bang bus as far away from Arctic as possible. Rotating west is a pretty good shout. There are teams in Monte Nuevo, but they've already rotated out of there, just like we were saying earlier. It makes sense to get out of there sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you get completely pinched between phases 5 and 6, for example, and it's not nice. But that gives an opening for teams like the Milkmen to maybe seek a little bit of refuge.
Yeah, there is a team in Monte Nuevo. They're facing that very corner kind of building, looking onto phase, which means that they potentially look to have a bit more of a free rotate than we initially thought. But that also now means that Arctic have got to fight their way from Rainbows and Crossroads of Club 137 And then we've got rotate around Yaz just holding the corner of Montenuevo. So it now looks like Archie, unless they take the same path as the Milkmen, are going to have a really hard rotate out of that compound next zone.
Yeah. But they're going to have to do that from the low ground. The life-saving killers are just up top. Getting very close to that explosion, but probably... Gary has to get this fight. He needs it to finish in his favor. I think running down might be a mistake because he can't get the revive off. And
no, but he was getting backfilled.
Back car.
I think Lipsia was backfilling him. He was taking a lot of mini shots.
Right. What do you do from here, though? I feel like a single frag grenade downstairs could absolutely wipe Gary right now.
It could, and I think he's choosing the right decision here. Disengage and try and get himself another potentially better spot, but it's just a lot of open ground in him and his trusty old Bronco. This is going to be very, very hard for him to get anywhere to salvage. Phase is occupied by... Oh no, Gary. Occupied by Kona, who look at C-play just off screen, taking out valuable veterans, and they've come alive. We said very early, well, we said at the start of the cast, Joro, that they were one of our teams to watch, and they haven't really been allowed to get played. They're alive a lot longer. Woohoo! Kieran! Nice. What a spray! Oh my god, C-play now waking up, the gun's coming alive, and they're starting to do a lot of work. They got a nice bit of control down on that eastern side of the circle, but they do have fence and life-saving killers above them.
14 teams still left alive at the 18.5-minute mark here in game number 3. After this, there are no more mirror marks. Every team is to impress right now. This is where they start getting eliminated. Entropy will be the first to go. This is a bit of a tinderbox. Too many players in too small a space. It's going to happen. The question is just going to be in what order. So many teams close to each other. We even have Kona insta-flush right next to each other on top of Turtle Esports in the center of the zone. But everywhere you look, there are potential conflicts. There is no one who's very far away from anybody else right now. Here come the Fence versus the life-saving killers. Avani doing a really good job spotting a third-party team from behind, saying, no, you don't. These kills are ours. Fair enough. The question now becomes whether Fence can gatekeep them in return, because both of these teams still outside of the circle. Getting peppered from long range. That's the north side of the circle there, I think. Fence should be okay. The question becomes what happens when C-Play move further towards them. And C-Play are going to answer that themselves. They're actually moving back, possibly towards the vehicles. They're actually rotating south, which means that Fence should have a way in at least, but that way in is not very good. It's a gentle slope down into circle towards Dwight, towards Turtle Esports at the moment. And I don't honestly think Fence are going to want to be hanging out there. They're going to have to use vehicles and send it, as opposed to walk down on foot, because it's just way too open with too many angles to shoot them from. Not 100% sure what they'll choose. We'll find out momentarily, though. I love the cragging, if you like, the Turtle Esports is doing in the middle of the circle right now. I think that's really, really good. I just don't know what I do if I'm Fence. Like, if I rotate north, well, that's exactly where 4A men are coming from. So quite clearly 4A men don't fancy their chances in the same quadrant as Kona. And if they're moving killers and 4A men, gatekeeping Fence.
Yeah, this fight's about to get very interesting, as we see Forsaken with their backs against the wall, being pushed in by zone into the waiting jaws of Morty and Mora, and this potentially is a nasty spot for them. But then whoever wins this fight has got to come in to rotate around Yaz, holding just that corner of Montenuevo, which this stage in the game is so powerful. You've got so many lines of sight, and with the walls, it's really hard to push.
Smora gets spotted from the near side corner of that double-story building. He's going to have to do a little bit of healing, allowing those grenades to temporarily distract him. This is important. This is the time that Forsaken needs to push up onto the Milkman. So this is an excellent little bit of opportunity there. Forsaken getting at least one player pushed up. Might be able to get a second, which potentially does mean, of course, that you have to be wary of the one that gets left behind, the third. But they are no longer outside of the circle. That's the important thing. The question now is whether they can defeat 3v2 the Milkmen, who have and know exactly where at least one of them are. No re-peek into that angle so far. A little bit too far. And that's the first and the second headshot onto Mora. He goes down, leaving us.
Oh, great play from Morty. He gets 1 and 2. Now he is the one with his back against the wall, though, and it is just left to Owen to try and collect this frag. Morty holding a dirty angle. He's just spotted his damage traded a little bit. Morty, come on, you've got to win that fight. Unfortunately, the Milkmen are eliminated, and it means that Owen is going to be able to get the revives here, and now they have to face rotate around Yaz, who heard that fight, know that members are down, and they are just waiting across, looking across the road.
I mean,
I think they're going to get both revives here, though.
Look, Morty just fired about 20 bullets and didn't actually do any damage to Owen. But you know as well as I do that in Discord, Owen's going to be talking about that fight for weeks.
Oh, absolutely weeks. I mean, it doesn't matter that Morty stormtroopered it. It's, you know, Owen won the fight. And that's all that matters. It is nice to see him IGLing from the lobby, though.
No, it really is. I mean, this is only slightly closer than the lobby. He waited till everyone else was down before swooping in, so at least he was closer than 2 kilometers away, which is something. You know, that is something. Quite clearly, that counts as something. Progress. He managed to get a couple of revives off as well. This is definitely progress.
They're just eagerly waiting here. It's like the metaphorical shark circling. They're just waiting for Forsaken to come into the open jaws of rotate around Yaz. This is a horrible fight to try and take. They've got to come out of one of two ways out of cover to try and cross this road. I don't know how much utility they actually have left after that fight with the Milkman. So this is just going to be horrible for them to cross. Of course, you got Sills up on this sniper tower, taking a bit of elevation as now the blue is really starting to push Forsaken. They need to make a move. They need to make an action. They need to make a decision. It doesn't matter if it's the right decision, the wrong decision. You just need to make one in this situation. Sometimes it'll pay off, other times it won't. Or Jacob.
For a man now getting sandwiched between Kona, but I was going to say sandwiched between Kona and another team. It's actually 2 different teams on the east side. We've got C play there, and I think it's rotated around Yaz. Is it? No, I beg your pardon. It's Arctic. So 4 different teams here, with unfortunately 4A men sort of stuck in the center, but still just about surviving in this little dip. And it's Arctic that are going to win the fight over in the distance that you can see now. They manage to take out C-Play, and they're the ones who are going to be moving towards 40. If they manage to get through them, they then have to deal with Kona and rotate around Yaz. Are the guys on the north side of Monte Nuevo who are going to be third-partying them as well. So once they deal with, if they deal with Forsaken, which is still not completely written in the cards, if you will, they're then going to be able to third-party Kona, who up till now had the best position, but with Notmage going down to a headshot from Niloya, are beginning to get that.
How has Owen been allowed to do this? Snaking in the middle of the road, just all the way across to the picket fence there with the crashed cars, and it looks like Forsaken are actually going to start making a move. The utility dump coming out. He's got so many smokes. Is this Team Liquid we're watching right now?
If they use all of these smokes now, though, there might not be very much left. Well, I was going to say the late game. I guess there are only 5 teams left alive, so it's about as close as you can get. They don't want to be left without those frag grenades, without those Molotovs in a 1v1 situation. But if they can get to second place from here, any objective points of view, light blue on the opposite side of the fence to Sills. I think if they just charge through that opening on the right-hand side and just play a 2v1, that's probably the way forward.
That's a big knock there. The thing is that Sills would be feeding the information, knowing that the 2 players would be up against this wall. Mobster being able to swing out. But Owen should have been in the off angle there, taking the shots and supporting his team, which he probably would have got Sills there if he had just peeked. But it looks like Sills knows exactly where he is, and he isn't actually able to do that. He's not able to do it. He's got too much pressure.
He was within 200 meters of his team. I mean, that's a record, I think.
Oh no, bless him. He's not going to be happy about these comments. But you know, every PSS does need a punching bag, and unfortunately, Owen just serves up as one of the best.
So the thing I don't like about the way Forsaken approached this was it felt like they went all the way up to the metal wall, like that corrugated iron there, and then they sort of turned around and engaged Mobster, who was the player from Rotate Around Yaz, who was the furthest away. I would have liked to see them do exactly the same thing, except rush Sills, go straight into whoever is basically near that guard tower and behind that fence, rather than get really close to one member of the opposing team and then fight the person who's furthest away, because it just means that all four of them have as much information on you as possible. And the longer you stay there, the more likely you're going to get sniped from afar or an underarm frag grenade coming over the wall or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, if they had just taken the bottom half of that L-shaped corrugated fence, they would have had that 1v1 with Sills. And of course, with all of that smoke down, Owen
2v1.
potentially... Yeah, 2v1, sorry. Potentially, if all those smokes served Owen well, Mobster wouldn't have had line of sight on him, and Owen would have had the off angle to give that initial support onto Sills. But unfortunately, pinned down. Owen didn't want to move because he thought his location was known. Oh, this is a big push from Arctic. This is great. But they know. They just know. And the free fires come out around that fence. Hannibal trying to do a little bit of work. And Arctic have picked up quite a few frags, and now they're in a top 4 position. This is another strong showing from them as we come down and we see Kona. We talked about it. Their end game. Let's see if that Dragon Power can come out as they start to push the compound. Zachary shutting this push down onto a sinky straight away, though. And it doesn't look like it's the best push. We see the orb with the 3x on Hannibal. He's just trying to get one of these frags. He's going to loop around. This could be huge, and this could absolutely dismantle Kona here if he's Let's see this frag. He is traded off straight away. That's great play from Kona, not made. Hannibal flushed out as we see Yazak now back up. All of the team have now crashed to some side, and this corner compound has just been so powerful for Rotate Around Yaz, and they're holding phenomenally. And now it's just going to be, let's sit inside, let's let the other teams fight, and then we can just swoop in and take it. Nilo, are you going to go for that high ground? It's risky, but I think that might pay off. He's still got some hard cover on that roof, you know.
I feel a little bit bad for Arctic in this situation, because when they came in and they started peeking around that fence and they almost got beat by Rotate Around Yaz, I think it's because they thought Owen was in that position, so they were ready for it, and it wasn't actually Owen that was peeking them. Forsaken, though, still getting 4th place here, which is pretty good, and now this is a really serious fight. Kona, they're crashing to here, one of the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but at the same time, they've got 3 people left alive, and crucially, they're the ones who are going to have to move last. They have this tiny little ridge very close to where the center of the Phase 9 circle is going to be, so I believe Arctic and Rotate Around Yaz are going to end up fighting each other before fighting Kona, and that can only be good for Kona.
Absolutely, and I mean, I want to see Kona hold that ridge and not overextend, not be too aggressive like we've seen them do, because potentially they can pick up so many frags here. We're seeing the smoke field now come out as Arctic and Rotate Around Yaz know that they have to push out, and it looks like that pillbox is going to be pretty much the center point. So Kona in the best position here to take this. I mean, we have got Zachary up on the roof. Nilo has dropped down, and this high ground is going to choose to abandon it. But that could have been so helpful for the end of this fight. I mean, you don't want to be stuck on a roof in this zone, do you, Joro? You know, unresable. You're going to get flushed straight away, no matter how strong that position is.
I'm very surprised, actually, that Rotate Around Yaz are still moving so close to them. I would have thought they would have forced like they're finally going to force that fight. Yazak getting a knock, as is Niloya, who gets traded out, and Kona have decided, okay, cool, third party, thank you very much. Mobster with the iron sights on the M4 in Phase 9. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about that later, mate, but never mind. Maybe it's 3x on the makes sense. Moving straight there, but it's not enough. Rotate Around Yaz eliminated. They do indeed fight each other, and the winner therefore goes up against Kona, but it's 3v1. Everybody and their dog getting flashed right now. Yazak hitting the deck, just trying to buy some time.
We see the pan from a Sinky. Incredible. And the nade comes out from Kona. What a picture as well. Oh my god. But I'm so glad that Kona didn't make the same mistake as the life-saving killers did in the first game and give Yazak a series of 1v1s. They had utility in their back pocket, they used the nade, and Kona come out with a very strong finish to win the game on 8 kills. That's a great finish from them and a really strong showing of late game presence.
It very much is. 8 kills, chicken dinner. Kona recognizing that their pull-up wasn't going to be the best, and then further realizing that they can engineer a position where the second and third place teams had to fight each other first before going through them, was delightful. Because we thought, and we were correct, that their pull-up wasn't great, Cotton. We know it wasn't great. But at the same time, they knew it, and they worked out how to actually change that situation to their advantage, and that's what earned them the chicken dinner. Really good strategic thinking there from Kona.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they actually used a bit of restraint. We've seen them be very aggressive and push everything, take the 1vx's, and in that they actually used their heads. They got themselves originally said, all right, boys, we can push this, we can take this fight, but circle kind of ends on us. They have to come to us, and they didn't overextend. And that's what I want to see from this team, is them actually using their fragging power as well as their heads.
So that's Miramar done and dusted. 3 games down, 3 games to go in this month's PSS. We'll be back with Erangel after this break, ladies and gentlemen. Grab yourself a drink, maybe even get a snack. We'll see you for Erangel after this break.